What's going on, everyone, and welcome to your meta update builds video for open beta 17. Open beta 18 is coming out soon, and this has been a long awaited video. I know I haven't done these in a while since open beta 5, and I'm gonna be honest, I don't really have an excuse other than I've just been busy, I suppose. But there has been a lot of new items, a lot of new changes. A lot of new changes. So we're gonna go over some of the builds for each individual class. They're not really classes anymore in Smite 2, if you don't know. If you're getting back into the game or anything, you're looking for builds for Joust specifically. This isn't for Conquest or anything else, although a lot of it does, you know, go over to other game modes, specifically to Conquest and other stuff like that. So but yeah, so I think for the most part, if you guys haven't seen these videos before, I go over like a very generic cookie cutter build that you can go every single game and will do pretty good with. And then I go over some of the alternative items for specific reasons, and I go over it. And we just go over basically every single item that you can think about, explaining it. And obviously a generic build path that I'll show you. They have God Builder in this now. Before there wasn't. I had to use my own Excel spreadsheet. However, actually not however, I'm just going to go over it real quick. What I like to do is I like to preset all the items and all the alternative items, so you can just go ahead straight up, get the screenshot, and then I'll go over one by one each build. And the explanation of it if you like to see it. If you don't, just want to copy and paste it, you already got it, then there's for you, or that's for you. We're gonna go easiest to hardest, so you know, classes that don't have, or easier to explain, don't have a lot of items, so your ADCs, your mages, even assassins, or whatever you like to call them, int, burst, or you know, whatever you want to call them, hybrid shit, because there's no classes anymore. And then we'll go into the tanks and stuff like that. So but real quick, we're gonna go ahead, transition over right now. We're gonna start with intelligence / mages and go over their generic burst build with that. All right, so as you can see, we got our, oh wait, here's my mouse. You got your mage / intelligence burst build. So I put intelligence here because, you know, gods like Neith can go into intelligence and it's really good, or Bari, you know, some of those gods that can go full damage intelligence. This isn't strictly for your traditional mages from Smite 1, like your Agni. I mean, Hekate's not from Smite 1, but she's an example of a mage type of god. So that's kind of why I put the mage intelligence burst up here at the top. As you can see, here's the god builder. And you'll see here that I just got rid of all of it, and that's not what I meant to do at all, so I'll be right back. All right, I'm back, and I changed up the build a tiny bit. I accidentally put Ancient Signet here. I meant to put Soul Reaver here. But regardless, like I said, this is your int build. We're going to go over it real quick here. I actually meant to, I need to put this in here as well. This is alternative starter item. So this is your generic build right here, and you'll see some pretty in the meta items in here. And then you have your alternatives right here. So you can screenshot this if you want, if you don't, you know, feel like an explanation or anything like that. But this would be a generic build that you could probably go every single game and it'll do good. Now going into this build, starting with Sands of Time, I think this is just a better starter than Conduit Gem for most gods. Now Conduit Gem is very good. I would probably go Conduit Gem on gods, maybe like Scylla. Scylla would be good with this. I'm trying to think of other gods that might be good with this. I mean, you can build this on every single god instead of Sands of Time, and it'll do good. I think Sands of Time with its cooldown, and it's slightly better mana regen, I think outweighs the true damage that it gives you. And then its upgraded starters better too. So I would generally go Sands of Time most of the time, but if you prefer Conduit Gem instead of Sands of Time on your mage, that's totally fine too. One of the biggest things about Smite 2 compared to Smite 1 is that there are so many good items that it almost becomes, these type of videos are like, we're looking at very good items that you want to go meta items, but like every single item almost seems to be in the meta, at the very least. worthy of a pick. Whereas in Smite 1, there were some items you're just like, this does not even, don't even think about this item. This item's trash. There's not a lot of that in Smite 2, which is very good. I like having being able to switch up your builds. It's more fun. However, there are still better items in the meta. So going off with this into the 6 items that you have, the 4 items you're going to almost always want in your build currently is going to be Spear of Desolation, Chronos, Obsidian Shard, and Rod of Tahuti. Now, starting out with Spear of Desolation, so there's these 4 items you're almost going to always want in your build. I can't see a situation where you would want to pick any other items. Maybe if you want like a specific type of build, you would switch your items. But these 4 items, if you want the meta, is going to be almost always in your build. Spear of Desolation, 2650 gold, a little expensive, nothing, you know, too expensive, but, you know, right in the middle between very expensive and cheap. Which is good. It gives you 100 intelligence, 10 cooldown, and it's passive, which is arguably the best thing about it. When getting a god kill or an assist, minuses your non-ultimate cooldowns by 3 and your ultimate by 10. And depending on the type of kills and assists that you get, you can throw out your abilities one after the other, and you're just doing so much. It's just too good. It's too good not to go. You release your first 1 or 2 item slots, and while I'm talking about that, you can kind of interchange when you want your items in this build. There isn't like a specific moment in which you're like, you need to go this item. Now, of course, certain items like Rod of Tahuti, Obsidian Shard, being that they are a lot more expensive, and, you know, penetration, sort of better to go later in the game. And on Rod of Tahuti, 25% of your intelligence going in your items, you kind of want that later in your build. However, I mean, like, if you wanted to go Rod of Tahuti first instead of Obsidian Shard, you can do that. If you want to go Chronos Pendant instead of Spirit Desolation first item, you can do that too. So you can interchange these items all over the place for the most part. With that, going into Chronos Pendant's really good, having more cooldown. A lot of these builds you're going to see have a lot of cooldown. That really is what the build is sort of like right now. Having a lot of cooldown is going to be very important. So 25 cooldown, and obviously, you know what Chronos Pendant doesn't really change since Smite 1. -1 ability cooldowns every 10 seconds. It's really good. And it's very, very cheap. 2400 is very cheap. Soul Gem actually recently got buffed, and it allows you to get more stacks easier. They increased the intelligence, and I believe increased the base heal. But as the game goes on, the scaling of it, I believe, went down. Overall, I thought it was a good item beforehand, and then they upped the intelligence, and then gave it a little bit more health at the beginning, and then less at the once you get later into the game, which is honestly fine. The intelligence is more important. I always thought this was a pretty solid item to begin with. So now that they buffed it, I think it's almost always a solid pick to go in every single build that you would want. So this is sort of an item that I generically put in this build. You don't have to go every single time. We'll go over to the other items down below, but, you know, right around that 3rd slot, if you want to go it in the first 2 slots, you can do that too. These 3 items can be swapped. However, I think I like this is what I've been sort of going recently. 10 cooldown, lifesteal, 60 intelligence, which is really good for 2500 gold. That's pretty good. And then on top of that, you get 3 stacks. Your next ability hit, you deal even more damage, 40% of your intelligence, and you heal you and your allies. And again, a lot of it's a lot easier to stack this now. For example, I think Yanis 3 can stack Soul Gem depending on how many people walk over it using your own abilities, which is pretty cool. So I like Soul Gem, and specifically on gods that can use this really well, like Merlin, Agni. Those sort of gods are going to be really good with Soul Gem, and, you know, those certain gods I'd say almost build that on almost always. Obsidian Shard is just too good. Ever since they condensed the penetration down into one singular item, they made it more expensive. However, it gives you 35% penetration, which is wild, just passively. So you're getting 35% penetration and 60 intelligence. Now, it's very expensive, but for a good reason. Even on squishies, this is really good. Getting rid of a squishy's base protections by 35% is still a lot of damage. And then, of course, if you're going up against like a double tank meta that we're sort of currently in, although, you know, double damage is still pretty good. Double tank is still going to be your meta team comp, in my opinion. So with that, going Obsidian Shard is going to be very good, and I think around the 4th item slot is probably going to be best. Yeah, you kind of almost always want to go this item, even if you're going up against 3 squishies. It's just too good right now because they condensed the penetration, like I said. Rod of Tahuti, giving you 85 intelligence, max mana, mana regen for 3,000 gold. Pretty expensive. However, the passive is what you want. Getting your intelligence equal to 25% of your intelligence from items, you kind of want to go this later in your build. Not only that is expensive, so it kind of makes sense to go this later in your build. Right around that 4, 5, 6 item slot is what I would suggest building it. And in the passive, you're just getting extra intelligence, which is always good. So this is another item I think you're almost always going to want to buy. I don't see a scenario in which you never buy Rod Up the Hootie, I feel like. And last but not least, I struggled a little bit with this last item slot because you can pretty much go anything at this. Similar with Soul Gem, you can kind of switch them out, but I decided to put Soul Reaver here because of double tanks, and a lot of builds have healing right now. The meta comp builds for tanks have a lot of healing, you know, like your Yogi's Mask, your Leviathan side, a lot of items that can give you a lot of health. There's no more anti-heal, so an item like Yogi's Mask is really fucking good right now. So I decided to go Soul Reaver here just for that double tank. But even into like a single tank and double squishy backline, I still think this is pretty solid. Again, this is not the old Soul Reaver in Smite 1. This does bonus damage to gods with more maximum health than you. So they have to have more than you. So you don't really want to buy Soul Reaver with the other items that give you health for the most part. Otherwise, it's not going to do anything. So again, 8% of maximum health difference plus 5% of your intelligence was they added to this item because beforehand it kind of was just shit. So it deals 4 times over 2 seconds. So even if you don't have that much health over like a squishy, you're still getting plus 5% of your intelligence over 4, deal 4 times over 2 seconds. So you're still doing extra damage even to them. It's pretty expensive, so you kind of want to go this later in the build. Around your, again, 4, 5, 6, you can kind of switch these out depending on what you want more. Like if they're not building a lot of protections but they're building a lot of health, you might want to go Soul Reaver first. If they're building a lot of protections, not a lot of health, then you kind of want to go Obsidian Shard first. It kind of just depends on what you want. So the order will change depending on the team comp. And I think that's pretty much it. So again, 4 items you want to always pay attention to is Spirit Desolation, Chronos Pendant, Obsidian Shard, and Rod Up the Hootie. That's probably almost always going to be in every single build, in my opinion. And then on these last items, we're going to probably go quickly through these. I really like Doom Orb, and specifically, I changed out Doom Orb for Soul Gem a lot, but that's just personally for me. A lot of people don't like this item. It's semi-expensive, not as expensive as it was in Smite 1. I love rushing Doom Orb and then going Desolation, Chronos, Obsidian Shard, and the ladder. But I do know that not a lot of people like it. I think maybe this is expensive and whatnot. I love this fucking item. It gives you 90 intelligence, 200 max mana, 2 mana regen, so it's really good. First pickup with your mana. It's 2,700 gold, not the most expensive, but semi-expensive. And then you get, it's passive, 8 intelligence per stack. And I believe this is where they changed it to where each stack rolls off 1 at a time instead of all at once, so making it even better. So, and you get these stacks by either getting a minion assist, or a kill, or a god assist, and whatever. So you're pretty easy to stack, and so you're just getting an extra 40 intelligence. I feel like, which is 130. I feel like that's really fucking good. So I honestly almost put this up here, but I think Soul Gem is probably just a bit better in a generic build. But personally, if this was my build path, I go most of the time. I would go Doom Orb. Although I still think, you know, again, Soul Gem and stuff like that, it's going to be more better in a generic build. But I love Doom Orb. Book of Thought actually recently got a buff, I believe, by 1% in its mana conversion in its non-stacked and stacked version. I think this item's really good. I don't think it's as good as it once was after they nerfed it. However, it's still good in gods that use a lot of mana. Or, you know, like a Kukulkan Khan who uses this really well in his passive. A Scylla in its aspect form is really good with it, and even in its her non-aspect form is really good. Merlin, I don't know if I said that already, but Merlin uses Book of Thoth pretty well too. Uses a lot of mana, has a lot of abilities that they throw out. So I think this is a solid item, especially with its buff here. Polynomicon, I almost wanted to put in core for the most part, but I don't think it's core on every single god. I mean, this thing's 2,400 gold. It's pretty cheap. 75 intelligence, mana regen, max mana, and then deals bonus magical damage off of your intelligence, 65%. And one of the biggest things about this in Smite 2 that doesn't have it in Smite 1, makes it even better, is it doesn't have an internal cooldown. So you can use an ability, poly, use another ability, and you'll have your poly up right away. You don't have to wait for the cooldown, which is really good. So a god like Scylla would use this really well. Kukulkan, these are like must-buys on those gods. Even Merlin, I've been seeing like first rush poly, which is pretty good because of his passive and stuff like that. Yeah, I think it's max mana build with like a Book of Thoth is going to be really good on a lot of your mages and stuff like that. So gods like Neith can use this really well. So I think polys can be interchanged for like your soul gem as well, depending on the god you want to pick. But not every god uses this well. Like Hekate, you're not going to really use this as much. You can. It's not the worst thing in the world, but you're not really autoing your like as a Hekate. You want to throw out your abilities from a distance. Divine Rune, I don't like this item. I really wish they gave this item a soft anti-heal that they gave the brawlers, but they didn't. However, as much as I don't like it, it is a solid item if you want to go. They just buffed it to where now it's passive only triggers on gods instead of, you know, minions and stuff, not, you know, wasting your passive, making it utterly useless. It's still a solid item. It's 2,500, gives you 95 intelligence, which is pretty good. And then it gives you its chain lightning, which is really good as well. I don't like it though. I think there's other items that give you better utility than this item. However, it's still good and worth noting here. Jade Scepter is really good as well. It's a little expensive, 2,750, but it gives you 90 intelligence, 150 health, and displaces gods in front of you. You can use this defensively and offensively. A god like Scylla, you can use your Jade Scepter, which can set up pretty easy for an ability, as well as other gods that don't have a lot of escape. Like if you're playing Zeus, you can play use Jade Scepter. Holy shit, I can't talk. And then you can defensively push them away, and that's pretty good as well. This item I would only go like in specific scenarios though. Staff of Mirrodin actually got a buff too, making its passive cooldown 120 to 80, which makes this even better. So gods that you can use this really well, like a Yanis or a Scylla, if you kind of want to go that more riskier but pretty good item type of build. I would go Staff of Mirrodin. Staff of Mirrodin is really good. It's definitely also a really fun item too. Just having two charges of an ability is really fun. So 70 intelligence, 10 cooldown, and you have 80 seconds on cooldown, which is really quick. So I think Staff of Mirrodin, depending on the god you want to use this on, is really good. Ancient Signet has also gotten a buff, which I actually like going this item. It's gotten 2 buffs, I think, in the past 3 or 4 patches ago. 80 intelligence, 250 max mana, which is really good. And then on its ability hit, this is the part that they buffed. They gave it an extra 2 per level. It used to be 10, now it's 12, I believe. So you're able to get what is that? 20. So 10 times 20 is 200 plus 40. 240, right? I think I did the math right. If I didn't, whatever. It's still very good, and I like to build this sort of your last item because it does scale off of your level. So if you wanted to do this, and its cooldown got nerfed or buffed too, to where I think it comes up 5 seconds quicker. So I think this item is really good, and I'd probably go this last item. World Stun is okay enough to put it on here. I think this is a niche item that you'd want to put on gods that have really good ults. So Merlin would be pretty good on this. Vulcan, Agni would be really good on this. I wouldn't go this every time, but if you really wanted to, you could. It's a little expensive. 70 intelligence, mana regen, everything is pretty good, but specifically you want this for the cooldown, and it's a pretty niche item, but enough to where I think it's noteworthy. Totem of Death, I think this item is really good. I only put this on the alternative items because certain gods don't use this well, but certain gods absolutely use this well and is almost core. So a god like Merlin, I think, is core to put this on. So maybe instead of going a Soul Reaver, you go Totem of Death. You know, gods that have a lot of tick abilities, so Anubis has his core on, like I said, Merlin. I'm trying to think of other gods. Not every god uses it well. Even maybe an Agni might be good with this too, because he's able to throw out all of his abilities. 60 intelligence, 15 cooldown, and then it gives you upwards of 30% protection shred when you're using your abilities. So I I would say that this is probably core on some gods, but not absolutely don't go this on other gods as well. I mean, this might even be good on Cuckoo, for example. Again, you reading its passive, applying 1 stack of piercing when you hit an ability with a god or a boss, it's pretty good if you have an ability that can proc it over and over and over again. So I wouldn't go it every time depending on the god, but certain gods can use this really well. Going on the Gem of Focus, this item actually got buffed as well too. A lot of these items are getting buffed. Actually, I don't know why that's there. Okay, we'll ignore that. There's another Spirit Desolation, or Divine Rune. Anyways, last item, Gem of Focus, 50 intelligence, 20 cooldown, which is they've recently given it an extra 10 cooldown, which is really good. And then its passive gives you 4% movement speed for 6 seconds, stacking up to 3 times, which is equal to 12% movement speed, which I think is really good overall. But what pushes it over the edge to put it on the alternative items is the fact that it recently got buffed. So I think this item with this 20% cooldown is really good, and depending on the god, like a Vulcan, it would be really good to go this on. And I think that is basically it. There are some other intelligence items I didn't go over. Those ones I don't think they're as great, and overall not the best, so that's specifically why. If you want a specific item that you want me to go over, whether or not you disagree with me or agree with me, or just want to know why it's not up there, or just more information on it, then you can just let me know in the comment section down below. But generally speaking, this is the items that you're going to want to go, and then the alternative items you want to think about going as well. Moving on, we're going to go into the ADC attack speed build now. All right, now we have our ADC attack speed build, and we're going to probably only go over the strict strength build. Now there is an intelligence-based attack speed build that kind of goes more into the ability section of it. Like, again, autos scale 100% off of strength and 20% off of intelligence, so it's not going to be a good strict auto attack build if you go more the intelligence attack speed build. However, it's still pretty good. It gives you a lot of attack speed, not as much damage, but still allows you to do have a lot of intelligence scaling, allowing you to do more damage in your abilities. So a god like Zeus or like a Soul who goes that kind of build, you can go it and it's still solid. But I think the strict ADC build is what we're going to go over right now. If you want me to go into like a generic build path, I can do that in the comment section down below. But to save time, because there are still a lot of builds to go through, I'm just going to go through the ADC and attack speed strength build. Again, if you want, let me know in the comment section. If one person asks, I'll just go ahead and do it in the comments, and that'll be good. Anyways, here we are. We have your ADC build, your strength ADC build, and again, this is your generic build path right now, and these are your alternative items. If you want a screenshot, go ahead. But going into it, we have our starter, Leather Cowl, which is kind of your go-to starter in Joust. I don't think there's any other item you would really even think about going. There's 2 other items that you might think about going. I just don't think it's as good. You've got Death's Toll, which gives you healing and mana restore, as well as Arrow right now. Where's that? Gilded Arrow, which is a solid item, but I think is better in like a crit meta, which we're currently not in right now. So with Leather's Cowl also giving you bonuses, and the Hunter's Cowl giving you bonuses depending on whether or not you're near allied gods, which you're almost always near in Joust, I think it just gives you too much to not go every single time. So Leather's Cowl gives you 15 strength, 4% lifesteal, and within 8.8 meters of an allied god, which you're almost always, you get 15% attack speed, which is really good. And into the build, there's right now crit isn't that great with Spectral Armor now dealing, it was always an anti-crit item. However, it used to be off of crit chance, and now it's off of crit strikes, making it way better. Crit's not going to be nearly as good, and specifically is going to be more potent in a game mode like Joust with this item. So right now, I think the yellow numbers build with a little bit of penetration is going to be really good for you. So starting out with the first item, we have Sunbeam Bow. Now this item takes a little bit more skill than other items, Personally, I don't build it a lot. However, I know this item is extraordinarily good. You have to manage its usage. You can't just have this on all the time because you're just going to strip all your mana. However, this gives 10% attack speed and it has an active. But its adaptive stats, you get 40 strength or 55 intelligence, depending on which one's highest. So you're probably almost always going to get 40 strength. And then on use fire 2 extra projectiles per attack. This is your active. When you click the button to activate it, deals 10 plus 30% attack damage as magical damage. Can I scroll down? It's not gonna let me scroll down, is it? I can't. Structure and bosses take 25% damage. I can't read the rest of it. Wait. Okay, this thing is broken. Anyways, regardless, it's a really good item. It uses 5% max mana per second while active. It's toggleable. Jesus. Either way, it does yellow numbers. It's really good. Does a lot of damage. And I would suggest almost always building this if you like your first item or something like that, because it is really cheap. But like I said, I personally don't go it because I don't prefer that kind of item. So if you want an easier type of item to go without having to think about it, you can either go into like a Dagger of Frenzy, or you can go like Braggy's Harp and then interchange it with one of these items. However, yellow numbers build with this item makes it so much better and able to burst down. Next up we have Tearfing, which is another yellow number build. You get 45% strength, 45%. You get 45 strength, 10% attack speed, and deal an extra 15 bonus physical damage per hit, and on god hit increase bonus damage by 15 for 4 seconds, stacks once, plus per stack per 4 levels, maximum 6 stacks. So 6 times 15 I believe is what, 30, 60, 90, so an extra 90 plus your original 15, so 105 per hit is what you're going to be getting at level 20. Even more yellow numbers. Really good stacking with that. Imagine that with a Sunbeam Bow while active, doing a lot of damage. Next up, we have Braggy's Harp. Again, with the intelligence build that I was talking about before, and the Mage intelligence build before, you can kind of interchange some of these items. If you wanted to go Braggy's Harp first and then Sunbeam Bow, or Braggy's Harp, Tearfing, then you can do something like that. The order doesn't matter too much as long as it's like semi in the start. Like Sunbeam Bow, I don't think you should go last item. I think you should probably go like this in the first 2 items, preferably the first item slot. But if you wanted to go Braggy's Harp second and then Tearfing, you can do that if you want. But Braggy's Harp giving you 25 strength, intelligence, 25 intelligence, 10% attack speed, and you get 10 plus per level bonus magical damage as yellow numbers. This also is really good. You pair that all together, there's a lot of yellow numbers going. Then we got the Oboe, Odysseus's bow, giving you 45% attack speed, and every 4th attack hit trigger chain lightning, 15 plus 60% attack damage, physical damage. Hits targets and up to 4 near enemies, blah blah blah. So even more yellow numbers, a lot more attack speed. You're gonna be doing buku damage. Then we have Titan's Bane, just to round out. Again, Titan's Bane and Obsidian Shard are so good right now. I think going around these last items is going to be very good. 50 strength and 35% penetration. So good right now. One of the best items in the game. Titan's Bane, super good. I think you should almost always go this item every single game. And then the Executioner, last up. You can kind of switch these around. These 3 too as well. You probably want to put these towards the last part of your build if you want. Oboe, you can actually go a little earlier. Again, up to you what you want to do. Just to follow the generic build, penetration towards the end, and then certain items that are cheap, like Sunbeam Bow, that have a lot of additional effects to it. You kind of want to go first up in the first half of your build. Anyways, Executioner, 15% attack speed, and then you either get 40 strength or 70 intelligence. You're probably gonna get 40 strength here. Well, in this build, you're gonna get 40 strength, but depending, what you have higher is what you're gonna get. Anyways, attack god or boss, apply 1 stack of piercing. Piercing reduces 6% protections for 4 seconds, stacking up to 5 times. Very similar to Totem of Death, giving you 30% extra penetration. And you pair that with all these other items that give you yellow numbers, it's just you absolutely shred. So this would be a generic item path. You can go every single game and it'd be very good. Now we have Dagger of Frenzy. Like I said, this is a very good item you can go in the start of your build, and I like to go this a lot actually. However, I can't knock Sunbeam Bow being one of the best items in the game right now, so I Gotta put that first. However, personally for me, I like going Dagger of Frenzy. It's so much easier to think about than Sunbeam Bow. I have small brains, so I can't, you know, I don't really like Sunbeam Bow as much. Maybe I should try it again, but Dagger of Frenzy, one of your first items can be very good. Again, 35 strength, 10% attack speed, and then on use, it is an active. You get an additional 6 basic attacks that do increase damage, 50% attack speed, stuff like that. Next up, we have Kinsblade. This item got nerfed into the ground. It's still a very good item, and I think it's very good in Joust right now. If you're going up against gods that have a lot of attack, or a lot of health. I don't think this is as good as Soul Reaver, because there are a lot of other items that are better than Kinsblade for hunters. However, because if you're going up against double tank, which a lot of times you are, looking to see how much health they have, because again, this is bonus physical damage to gods with more maximum health than you. So if you have more maximum health than the other god, then you're literally just wasting an item slot. And on top of that, you get bonus damage of 10% of the difference in maximum health. So, or wait, did I read that wrong? Bonus physical damage to gods with more maximum health than you, 10% of the difference in maximum health. Okay. No, it's just the 10% of the difference in maximum health. So whatever the health you have versus the other god, that how much health they have, you take the 10% of the difference in maximum health and you do that per auto. So if you're going up against a double tank with a lot of health, I think you go Kinsblade. Otherwise, I don't think it's as worth, and I think you should just go this build, but it's here for that. Hasten Fatalis is actually a pretty good item. It got nerfed. I think it's in a good spot. It's not necessarily busted. It's not necessarily bad. It's just in a solid spot, I think. 20 strength, 25% attack speed, and an attack hits a god minus 12.5 attack speed movement penalty, stacking up to 2 times. I'm sorry, stacking up to 4 times if you're an ADC, 2 times if you're melee. So you actually have to hit your autos to get this hastened effect. So it makes it more of a skill-based item rather than just giving it straight out the gate. So if you want this item, I'd preferably go this like late game. If you wanted to stick to your enemies, if you feel like you would really benefit off of that in whatever game that you're in, I'd see this as a pretty solid item. Lernian's Bow I wanted to put on here. It's more of a anti-whatever kind of item. Giving you 40 strength, 30% attack speed, which is really good, and it's semi-cheap, 2500. Fire, it's an active that fires arrows that pierce enemies in a line, dealing 50% of your attack damage as physical damage. It's also an anti-shield item. If they have a lot of shields, you might want to go this as well. And can critically strike, so this would be a very good item to go if you wanted to go crit. Not really in a crit meta, so it's not as good right now, but I think this is a solid item you can think about going if you just want to have fun too. Vital Amplifier I'm going to put on here because certain gods can go this and really take advantage of this well. Gods like Danzabura that heal in his 2, Soul in his 1, in her 1. Not a lot of gods that use this right now. I can't think of any others. ADCs right now, I'm missing a couple, but either way, if you're a god that can consistently heal you or an ally, so a god like Cupid would be very good to get Vital Amplifier on. This is a very good item, and I'd probably go this in your first 3 items as well. 200 health, health regen, attack speed, you get 30 strength or 45 intelligence based on which item's higher, and then you get 10% attack speed and 5% attack damage per stack, stacking up to 3 times. So 30% attack speed and 15% extra attack damage at max stacks, which is super good depending on the god that you want to go with. Again, this is with an ability, only with abilities, so not like you're using a lifesteal item and you're getting Vital Amplifier, so keep that in mind. Next up, we have Devourer's Gauntlet, which is almost always bought in Conquest right now. It's a super good item with its new stacking effect, basically allowing you to have infinite stacks, essentially. And then they reverted, or I'm sorry, they buffed a lot of things to Devourers. I can't remember exactly what it was. However, this item is super good. You kind of want to go this your first item. I don't think any other. This is an item you kind of want to go every single time, your first item slot, if you are going to buy this. This is an alternative for Joust because I think it doesn't do as well in Joust as it would in Conquest, just because of how shorter of a game they usually are on average, Joust compared to Conquest, and how much harder it is for you to get stacks because you are 3 stacking a wave with your team at all times, whereas in Conquest you're in your lane by yourself and you can get your stacks pretty easily. So I think Devourer's Gauntlet is a good item, but you have to specifically play, you have to play a certain way to get this. You have to tell your team, I need the jungle, the minions, and I need to get last hits on jungle monsters. And even then, the game probably won't last as long. But if you can do that, if you can get most stacks, they let you clear wave, and the games potentially last long, Devourer's Gauntlet would be a good alternative. But I think it's just an alternative right now because of how inconsistent it really is. But still a very solid item. Last up we have is Demon Blade, and this kind of encapsulates the crit thing, because you got Rage, and you got why can't I think of the item? Deathbringer. Crit's not really good right now. You can go crit. You can even sneak in like one sneaky crit item like a Demon Blade if you wanted to. I don't think it's good right now. Spectral is just too good right now with its changes. So crit just isn't really good, but it still can be done if the enemy doesn't go Spectral, or if you go up against like a squishier team comp. Crit might be really good. So crit here would be okay depending on what you would do with it. Generally speaking, I would not go this currently right now. And I think that's basically it. There's a couple, like again, the intelligence ADC build is a thing. I'm not going to go too much into it because it's not as good as obviously as a full strength attack speed build. But if you want me to go over it, let me know in the comment section down below. Next up, we're going to be doing the more harder ones. I'm going to go into sort of like a jungle burst kind of build that can go, you know, like an Uller can do, or just like regular gods like Bari. It's not a regular god. I'm thinking of junglers. Insert any jungler that can go a full damage build. That's what I'm going to be talking about next. All right, next up we got your Strength Burst. So this can encapsulate gods like most of your junglers, pretty much most of your junglers that have any type of strength. So I mean, like, even like a Fenrir, a Hunbat, even an Aladdin that can go strength, or hybrid scaling gods like that can go this as well. Again, your Intelligence Burst / Mage not only strictly goes to mages, it also goes to gods like Aladdin or like a Bari or like a Neith. Neith can also go this build too if you wanted more of this. It just depends on which build path you want to go, depending on which god takes advantage of which scaling they benefit more of, if that makes sense. So if they benefit more with strength or magical scaling, you go either build if you want a burst build. Regardless, this will be like a build for Uller too if you want, or Bari. Again, strength burst, because in Smite 1 and Smite 2 the difference is there's no classes, so you can kind of do whatever you want in terms of that. So I got to be more broad about it. Anyways, this is your strength burst build. Not as good in Conquest as it is in Joust, because you know, a lot of junglers, you don't really want to go full damage. You kind of want to go hybrid, because you kind of just get destroyed if you go full damage. But you know, gods that you could go to get away with this on, a lot of your traditional hunters that could go full damage, like again Uller or Bari, but other gods that you can get away with this as well, maybe like a Susano, Hunbats as well. A lot of people with a lot of gods with utility in their kit or getaway. Aladdin to be very good with this as well. So either way, you can go this build on any god you want that has that type of strength scaling. With that being said, let's get into it. So you got Bluestone Pendant and your Warrior's Axe. These are kind of your only two starters you want to go. I mean, if we're talking about burst here, the only other items that I could maybe see an argument for, I don't think it's a good argument, but I could see for is Boomba's Golden Dagger and Boomba's Cudgel. This is only good in Conquest. In Joust, this is not very good, but it does have certain things like giving you strength, and it does allow you to do burst on buffs that really are non-existent in Joust, at least in the current map. So I don't really see a lot of, you know, playability with this. However, there are niche plays to this, so you can go this if you want, but generally speaking, don't look at that. You kind of just want your Warrior's Axe and your Bluestone. Traditionally, I'd go Bluestone just because you want more damage. Again, this I believe also, I didn't mean to do that, but you see it right here. It does 150 plus 10% ear protections from items, true damage, and restores health. So I'd put this as a secondary because with this build, you're not really going a lot of protection. So I think Bluestone is just going to do better for you with the burst build. Anyways, going into the first item we have is Hydra's Lament, 45 strength, max mana, 4 mana regen, and cooldown, and gives you an ability 30% damage on your next auto attack, and it's 2450. I mean, you just can't beat the amount of stats, how cheap it is, and how much utility you have this on most gods. I mean, Aladdin, if you want Aladdin strength build, you auto cancel on all of his abilities basically, or in his 2, stuff like that. 3 auto, 2 cancel auto, stuff like that. Hunbats, you know, auto 3 auto or 2 auto. You're getting a lot of value off of Hydras on most gods. Fenrir, if you use your 2 1 or auto 2 auto, stuff like that. So you're getting a lot of value off of Hydra's Lament. So I think going this first item is probably what you're almost always going to want to do. A god like Uller, you could do this too. Uller has a little bit of a tweak build with the other items that we'll talk about, but if you went like a Uller build with this would be really good, having a lot of ability to proc this Hydras with all of his abilities and stuff that he has. So I think just going straight into a Hydras is going to do you good, especially with the mana regen early on too, paired with Bluestone. I think Hydras is just a no-brainer here. After that, we got Oathsworn Spear for 60 strength for 2550. I think this is the highest strength item in the game base stats wise. I almost think that's true. At least it, besides like an item like Transcendence, you have to stack up like base stats and avatars, but that doesn't count. I think is the highest base strength, right? Oh, Crusher, Camelier. Well, it's still one of the highest either way. And it's 2550, and target gives you pen. It gives you flat pen. So this is another penetration type item you can go. It's very good against squishies too. So I'd go Oathsworn here. After that, I'd go the Crusher. And again, with every single build, I'll have to say, you can switch, interchange these depending on how important you want them, how important they are in the game. If you want to go Crusher first, you can. If you want to go, I mean, it's sort of in this build. You can you can switch it around again. Anyways, Crusher giving you 60 strength, 15% cooldown, and giving you an ability hit physical damage. 35% your strength, dealt over 1 second. Subsequent hits on the same target deal 50% damage, bonus damage over 2 seconds. It's a pretty expensive item, 2800. However, it is very good. It gives you a lot of stats, cooldown, which you really need with, you know, your Hydras and stuff like that. So you're at 25 cooldown. Next up, we got Titan's Bane. Again, a staple item you're going to see almost in every single build for a burst strength build. You kind of almost always want to go this again, similar with Obsidian Shard. Even against squishies, it does a lot of damage. Next up, we have Pendulum Blade, which I personally love. Ever since they changed it from 3 to 4 seconds, I mean, even before then, even if it was 3 seconds, it was still so good. 45 strength, 10 cooldown, and on use as an active, -4 ability cooldowns. Crazy shit. Immediately, 40 seconds, such a small timer. 2550, so cheap. In Joust, this is so good. In Conquest, this is so good. Being able to just have your abilities up again kind of sounds really good, doesn't it? So I think going Pendulum Blade, you can go this earlier in the build too if you want. I like to go later in the build just because I want these items first. However, if I wanted to go Pendulum third item, I think it's still good. And you want to switch it up, go Crusher 4th, Titan's Bane 5th. You know, really good. I think this is one of the most, it's like a sleeper pick, I think. Who knows, maybe everyone uses it and I just don't pay attention. Either way, very good. Anyways, going into the last item, we have Heartseeker, 55 strength, 250 max mana, and 2% or 2 mana regen. On ability hit, this is not the same as it was before. They changed this a lot. Ability hit is +% health physical damage. So the damage that you're going to be doing based on your health, based on the target's health, is going to be 2.5% of your strength as percent of the target's maximum health. So if you have 100 strength, and that's how much you have, 2.5% of your strength is 2.5. So you're going to be doing 2.5% of the target's maximum health. Did I just say that wrong? Wait, 2.5% of your strength as a percent of the target's maximum health. Yeah, see, this item is still confusing. I don't know why they decided to... I don't know. Either way, it's not what it was before with previous Heartseeker, where it was just based off the enemy's target health, just a percentage off of it. It's now, as you would do 2.5 percent of the target's maximum health. Let's say you had 100 strength, 2.5% of your strength of 100, 2.5% of 100 is 2.5. So you're doing 2.5% of the target's maximum health is extra damage, if that makes sense. It's annoying. It's pretty. It's a hard. I don't know. Maybe they switch up the wording, but let's say the guy had 3,000 health, and you're doing 2.5% of your strength. You have 100 strength. Now you're doing 2.5% of 3,000, which is whatever the fuck it is. Either way, the more strength you have, the better this item becomes. The more percent damage you take off of the guy's maximum health. So I think this item is always good into a build like this, pure burst. Long-winded way of explaining Heartseeker, and I think I said it right the first time, but I thought I messed up. But I think I said it right. Either way, Heartseeker, more strength, more damage to target's maximum health. So there you go. If they're building a lot of health, this would be very good to go to as well. If you're building no strength, I would not go this. Anyways, here are the alternative items. You have Blood Forge. I think is a good item. 45 strength, 2.5% life steal. Gives you an active of health shield, 10% of your max health, and 150% strength from items, which is very good if you're going a full strength build. If you want to get this and just have a shield, then it's really good as well. Jotun's is really good too. I don't think you need it as much as you used to with all the other items giving you a lot of shit. However, if you want to do more cooldown, you can as well. You go 40 strength, 25 cooldown at 2400. Very good. You can probably go in like first part of your items here. The Reaper, 30 strength, 10% lifesteal, 1 stack of strength, max of 3 stacks on a god kill. If you get an assist. Wait. Oh, sorry, I think I read that wrong. Wait, on a god kill, you get 1 max stack, heal 15% of the slain god's max health. That's right. And then assist a god, heal 7.5% of slain god's max health. So this item, I think they changed it a little bit. I think is good on gods like Pele, or if you want to do like a lifesteal type build, you can put this with like Blood Forge and stuff like that. Overall, I think it's a niche item, but I wanted to put it here just for those certain gods that use this well. There are other niche ways you could use this with gods with a little lifesteal or stuff like that. But this would be pretty good on gods who you can kill who have a lot of health. Although I don't think it's the greatest. It's not a counter or anything, but it does do heal 15% of slain gods max health, so you can outplay with this item potentially. So I want to put that there. Erendite, I think, is an underrated item. For 2650, you gain 50 strength, 15 cooldown, which is really good. Reveal enemy gods within 7.6 meters. On its active, of course. If any god is revealed, 25% movement speed. First time you damage a revealed god, 30 physical damage plus 50% strength. So I think this is really good on a lot of gods. More your junglers than anything, but still noteworthy. Brawler's Beatstick, really good item. This is more of a hybrid item, but still very good. 20 physical protections, you get 40 strength or 55 intelligence, but in this build you get 40 strength. If no god's taken damage, if no god damage taken dealt in the last 5 seconds, so you 75% of above stat for 4 seconds on damage dealt. If damaged by a god instead, gain physical protection. So if you're getting damaged, you get more physical protections. If you don't do any damage or you don't take any damage, you get 75% of your strength. And then finally, down below, I don't know why it doesn't let me scroll, but if there is it's a soft healing counter. If there are healing gods on the map, you get both of each stat, which is very good to go if you're doing that. If you want like a hybrid build and if they have healing. Next up, I think the most underrated item in Joust, Shield Splitter. 40 strength, 20 of each protection, and on fire throws a projectile forward, plus 40 plus 5 per level true damage, which means it can't be mitigated by any protections. If an enemy is shielded, you reduce their shield by 65%, and you gain a shield equal to the amount of the shield reduced. Super good against gods like Gab, Nem, or if they have a lot of shells. But on top of that, even if they don't, you just throw out a projectile that does a lot of damage. You get both of each stat, protection, and 40 strength. I think it's really good for 2400. This would be like your first item if you want more like a hybrid B type of build, which I suggest you probably go. Tekko Kage recently got buffed, so I put it here. 60 strength, 10 cooldown, It's a little bit expensive, 2,700, but on ability use, gaining a stack of momentum. Momentum grants 4% movement speed for 6 seconds, stacking up to 3 times. So this is sort of like Conduit Gem. God, they changed the names of this. Gemma Focus, not Conduit Gem. Gemma Focus. More expensive Gemma Focus. But they recently buffed it, so I think it's a pretty solid item if you wanted to go this. Probably towards the middle or late part of your build. Next up, Dagger Frenzy. So guys that have a lot of auto attacks in their kit, or I'm sorry, not auto attacks, but like have enhanced autos, like a Hunbats and a Wheelix. A Mercury would be really good with like a Dagger Frenzy to get your damage off auto, and you do even more with your Dagger Frenzy because you get 50%, plus 10 attack damage, allowing you to do even more with like a Hydras and stuff like that, plus like you're part of their passive, like a Wheelix passive or Hunbat's passive. And then finally we have Transcendence. I don't think this is a great item, but they buffed it, I believe, a few patches ago, if I'm not mistaken. I'm giving you 35 strength, obviously stacks up similar to Book of Thoth, but this would be an item you would go on like an Uller if you wanted. If you wanted to go like a full burst build with like Book of Thoth and rest strength, you could do the inverse with that with intelligence, transcendence, book, and then rest intelligence. Either way, it can be a very good item to do things with. Burst, you have a lot of mana regen, decent amount of strength with certain gods like Uller. I think it's a niche item, but certain gods you can get away with it. It's a little bit harder to stack as well, because JOUST is shorter, but not as hard as it would be like a Devourer's Gauntlet, because you only need to do, again, damage to minions instead of just getting last kills. But I wanted to put it here just in case if you wanted to go this like first item, stack it up, you do even more damage the later the game goes. I think that's basically it. There's a couple items like Avatar's Parashu, which I could put here, but JOUST like rarely ever lasts that long for you to even get that. Barbed Carver's okay. It does a percentage of attack and ability damage. I might be underrating it, who knows, but I don't think it's as great. It only triggers once per ability, so you'd have to use 3 abilities to get the maximum benefit out of it. I think that's basically it. Everything else here, everything else that I would suggest is probably more like hybrid tank. So this is your strength burst. Now we're going to go into, actually now I think about it, warriors and guardians pretty much go similar. So we're going to go into, your hybrid / tank builds next. All right, I lied. So we're actually going to go into AA Bruisers. I forgot about these. And then actually we'll go into ability-based warriors / I don't even know what you call it. Bruisers, I guess. Ability-based bruisers is what I'll say. Anyways, yeah, we're going to go over AA Bruisers. There's not a lot of specifically AA Bruisers outside of Amaterasu and Bologna. So this is kind of like a Amaterasu and Bologna build here. This is why it's more specialized. You'll see with these items. However, you can still go other items that that can make certain gods ability or auto attack bruisers. Sorry. However, this is more of a Bologna / Amaterasu. There's not a lot of AA bruisers currently right now. I mean, gods like Arachne would even be one, but she's not in the game. So, anyways, this is what this is. We're gonna go quickly into this. Warrior's Axe and Warflag are probably the 2 starters you want to go. I can also see a argument for like a Death's Toll, which is fine too. And honestly, I could put that here. So actually, let me just, might as well. You can do that as well. After that though, actually, I would probably go Warrior's Axe most of the time. Warflag would be more of a support pick if you're like just only tank and you're like Amma or Bologna. Next up, we got Regrowth Striders. They both proc in Amaterasu's and Bologna's kit, so Regrowth Striders is really good. Same with Vital Amplifier. If you heal yourself an ability, you get attack speed and attack damage, which Amma does and Bologna does in their passive as well, I believe. Passive in 3, don't quote me on that, but I believe it's one of those. I don't play Bologna enough, but I know it does proc. Berserker Shield, obvious. 2,400 gold, gives both of each protection when falling below 60% health. They buffed it. It gives you 65 protections from items and 25 attack speed. Golden Blade, giving you 30 strength, 200 max health, 20% attack speed, and scales bonus physical damage off of 15% of your item protections, which is really good. Now you can, again, switch these out. If you want to go regrowth, then Golden Blade, then Vital Amplifier, then go straight into strength, you can, or into protections, you can too. This is sort of just thrown together here, but these items are pretty core. Next up, we got Pharaoh's Curse, both of each protection again, 15% attack speed, and it actually is a anti-heal or anti-shield item. Its active also does 20% movement speed and minus 40% attack speed. So if you go up against a Huntress, this actually be really good too. Makes you stick to them and allows you to basically cut their attack speed almost in half. And then finally, Shogun's Afuda Shogun's Kusari, that's what we're calling it. 30 magical protection, 200 max health, and 15% attack speed, and 20% attack speed for you and your allies. So basically 35% attack speed. And either realistically you would switch these around, but it kind of depends on the game and how much you value some of these items beforehand. Last two, and not the only two that they can go. There's a lot of other items they'll go to. Like you could go Yogis, you could go. That's it, only Yogis. You could go items like Leviathans, you could go Stampede, but that'd be too long, and we're gonna go over that anyways in the next section anyway. So I just put Spirit Robe and Mantle of Discord, just give you a little bit of cooldown with like Mantle and both of each protections, and a little passive that allows you to stun if there's a lot of crowd control. And then finally with Spirit Robe, each protection and allowing you to, if you get hit by hard crowd control, you get 60% heal over time as well as extra protection. So it's just sort of a generic build just specifically for Amma and Bologna. If you want me to go more in depth, you can ask in the comment section down below, but I'm pretty sure you're gonna get the idea once we go over ability-based bruisers as well as supports here coming up. So let's go ahead and get into ability bruisers next. Alrighty, we have warriors slash ability bruisers, and you can see here there is a lot of items you can choose from, and I haven't selected all of them because some of them I think are better made on supports. So oh, this takes us to not there or whatever. Wait, hold on. Okay. All right, so bear with me. There is a lot to talk about here, and as the more complex built gods come to this, where I basically make their build, the generic build's going to get harder and harder to make because there are just so many good items for so many different scenarios. So bear with me on that. But here we go. These are the warriors ability bruisers are gods that can do damage, build a little bit more selfishly. So think of gods like Hercules, Mordred, Sun Wukong, stuff like that. So yeah, here we are. So we have our first starters. We have Warrior's Axe and Bluestone. I do like Warrior's Axe more than Bluestone if you want to be more of that tanky bruiser type build. I think Warrior's Axe is just going to synergize off of the items that you're going to build better. Can go Bluestone, still a solid pick, but I would rather go Warrior's Axe. So this is going to be your generic build currently. Man, I almost wanted to put Shield Splitter in here, but I don't know if I can. Man, I really want to, but I think he'll go on the alternative. I almost build the item every single game. But first up we have is Yogis, before I get too much into it. Yogis currently I think is underappreciated and is really, really good, and I think you should build this item every single game you can, because if you don't know, they did a recent anti-heal nerf, got rid of it basically completely, and so items that healed you or gave you lifesteal were basically cut anywhere between 30 to 60%. Except the only item in the game that didn't get a nerf is Yogi's necklace. So this item gives you so much. It gives you 400 health, 250 max mana, 6 health regen, 6 mana regen, and 0.5 of maximum health per second. They even reduced Spirit Robe by a lot because of that, because they had the maximum health and its passive that they got rid of. Anyways, Yogi's necklace is one of the only items that didn't get nerfed, so it's been 0.5 of max health forever, and it's always been like that. So I think currently with how cheap it is, with it being 2250, and giving you all this extra stuff is very good. And the more health you build, the more it's going to heal you for. So I think Yogi's necklace is going to be your first item. I think almost every single buy. I mean, the mana regen early on is super good too, and I can't tell you how many times I've literally won battles that I just shouldn't have because I've just healed over time. Next up we have Breastplate of Valor and Oni's Garb, Oni Hunter's Garb. You can kind of switch these two depending on which one you want, and you can switch a lot of these if you really want to. Not any particular order technically. I just put an order I would probably put it in. So you got 35 physical protections, 200 max mana, 2 mana regen, and 20 cooldown rate, and they added a passive to it where if you lose 500 health, you get -1 second ability off cooldowns. On top of that, 25% of self-healing from abilities count towards the law's health trigger, which is good on gods like Hercules and stuff like that. So being able to do that or have that's really good. I think it's a very good stat stick and gives you some physical protections. If you're going up against like a double physical team comp, you probably want to go Breastplate first. If you're going up against double magical team comp, you probably want to go Oni first. You know, pretty standard stuff there. And then we have Oni Hunter's Garb, which I think is a must buy a lot of the times because it's passive. For each enemy within 8.8 meters, you get 4% damage mitigation. It stacks up to 3 times. So you're going to get maximum stacks around 3 enemies, which in Joust you have. So you're almost always going to have all 3 stacks if you're like in a team fight, which means you're always going to have the 12% damage mitigation on top of the 40 magical protections, max health, max mana, and mana regen. For 2,500 gold, I think it's really good. We have Freya's Tears, which gives you for 2,600 gold, it gives you 20 and 25 or 20 physical protections, 25 magical protections, and 20 cooldown rate. And once you lose 25% of your health, you gain 15% physical and magical protections from items. 4 or 5 seconds can stack up to 2 times, so you can get up to 30% magical and physical protections from items. So I think it's a really good stat stick as well, giving you each of a decent amount of each protection, 20 cooldown at a pretty affordable price at 2,600. So you have a decent amount of cooldown with Breastplate and Freya's Tears with a lot of protections. And then then you have Glad Shield, getting down to it. You have 20 physical protections for 2450, and you get 175 max health and 10 cooldown. And the reason I put this in later is because its passive abilities deal bonus physical damage. Damage equals 10 plus 40% of your item protections. So it's going to scale better as the game goes on, as you build more protections. So I think that's going to be very good. I was going to say something, I think. If you don't want to go Glad Shield and you want something more like with magical protections, you can go Sanguine Lash. I think Sanguine Lash is still one of the best items in the game. I'd probably switch that out with Glad Shield. Even if you don't in situations where you might need physical protections, you could still go Sanguine Lash, I think. Giving you 25 strength, 30 magical protection, 7.5 lifesteal, and basically it's similar to Mystical Mail. You enemies within 4 meters, you reduce their health by 0.75 as physical damage per 1 second. You gain 1% for every 10 physical lifesteal and stuff like that. That's basically what it is. And active damage is a god. You just get a stack of damage basically, and it can stack up to 3 times. So I think you can almost always go that item last area of your like your 5th item slot. Super good item. It's expensive, but worth it, dude. And then finally, generically ending it off with a Spirit Robe. 25 physical and magical protections. Hit by hard crowd control, you gain 40 of each physical and magical protection, and you gain 6% health heal over time, which is another very good item to go. There's a lot of CC in Joust, so this build make you super tanky and allows you to do a decent amount of damage. So these are your other items that I would probably go depending on the team. I'm going to start out with Shield Splitter. I think Shield Splitter you can arguably interchange with any of these items for the most part. You can get rid of Glad Shield if you want more damage as well. I'm sorry, not Glad Shield. You get rid of like Breastplate or Oni's. I'd probably get rid of Breastplate for Shield Splitter. I mean, honestly, you can get rid of a Glad Shield. Either way, Shield Splitter I think is one of the most underrated items in Joust, and I think you could go this the start of your build, and it's very good. 40 strength, 20 of each physical protection, and you get a true damage projectile. And if they have shields, you get a bonus to that if you hit them with it, as it's in its name, it's Shield Splitter. Next up we have is Spectral Armor. You get 30 physical protections, 400 max health, which synergizes really well with your Yogis. And obviously if they have crit, you almost always want to go this item. Reduces attack speed by 25% and critical strikes by 25%, which is invaluable if they're going crit. After that, we have Shield of Phoenix. So it gives you 15 physical protection, 225 max health, 10 cooldown, and on ability hit, when you hit a god, you gain 2% health heal and 2% mana restore. So gods like Mordred would be really good on this. I put this here for specifically Mordred. Sun Wukong would be good on this. It's not good on every single ability bruiser, but still pretty good on a lot of those gods. Mystical Mail, pairing this well with a Sanguine Lash. If you wanted to go these two items in tandem, you know, you can exchange it for like Glad Shield and Oni's Hunter's Garb and Breastplate of Valor, and you can kind of stack both of those. That's a really good build too. Yogi's Mystical Sanguine, Freya's Tears, and stuff like that. That's a very good combo as well. I think that's one of the other builds that I think you should almost always go if you're not going something like this. This is a generic build. Again, Mystical Mail gives you 25 physical protections, 300 health, and enemies within 4 meters deal 15 plus 1 per level magical damage per 1 second. And then we already talked about a Sanguine Lash and Shield Splitter. Leviathan's Hide. You pair that with Yogi's early on in the game. You go Leviathan's. I've already talked about this. Leviathan's Hide and Yogi's Mask or Yogi's Necklace. Late game, you're kind of just fucking not unkillable per se, but like it's so annoying to kill someone like that. And like Yorm with Yogi's and Leviathan stacked is so good. They changed this a while ago. You get 40 physical protections, 250 health, damage by god attack. That god reduces, or the god is 10% less strength for 4 seconds. That's basically what it is. So it's sort of like an anti ADC or, you know, pure strength kind of counter. But really what it's for is when you attack an enemy god, you gain 8 max health permanently. Cooldown is 10 seconds. So every time you attack an enemy, you just get health. So building it early on is going to allow you to stack up that health early. In late game, you're just going to have so much extra health. Scaling really well with like Yogis and stuff like that. Next up, we got Rego Striders. So a god like Hercules, Sobek is kind of going to be a staple for them. Giving you 35 physical protections, 3 mana regen, and 15 cooldown. So good. Even after the nerfs they had to the movement speed, decaying from 25 to 0. Still invaluable, because when you heal, you gain 25% movement speed, and you heal plus 5% health over 10 seconds. So you're just healing for 10 seconds for 5% health. You pair that with Yogis, you pair that with Leviathans, and like a Shield Splitter, and oh my god, you just do so much. It's actually crazy. And then going down the line, we have Mantle. This would be like a substitution for like a Spirit Robe, but I'm giving you 30 physical protections, 20 magical protections, 10 cooldown, and gives you, while below 40% health, you stuns enemies around you. If you have a lot of CC, that'd be very good too. Glorious Pridwen, really good. Stat stick, and honestly, I'd go it instead of Freya's Tears, personally, but again, it's just what's the word? My preferences, Jesus. You gain 20 of each protection, 12 cooldown, and you have an active that allows you to explode, dealing magical initially, and a 25% slow. And then once the shield expires or breaks, it does even more damage to them. I think it's really good stat stick, and it's a really good active that allows you to do even more damage, specifically with like bruisers and stuff, which is really good for them. Stone of Binding, I think, is an underrated item too. It got nerfed a while back because it was too good. I think it's still pretty solid for certain gods that have a lot of CC. So again, like a Hercules, a Sobek, a Cabrakan, guys that have consistent CC over and over again is going to allow you to have Stone of Binding. If you have like one version of CC, I don't think it's going to be the greatest, but I think Stone of Binding on those gods have a lot of consistent hard crowd control will be very good. For 22 50, which is extremely cheap. You get 25 physical protections, 20 magical protections, and when you do a hard crowd control on an enemy, apply 5 physical and magical protections, or apply -5 physical and magical protections for 4 seconds. If you have 120 plus item protections, apply 2 stacks to this debuff, stacks up to 4 times. So again, because it stacks up to 4 times, anytime you do a hard crowd control, you're just stacking it. So you can get upwards of 20 flat pen, basically, if you have a god that can stack it consistently. So again, like a Sobek, Hercules can proc it, theoretically get 3 stacks right out the gate. You 1-2 or 2-1 ult, knock up on the ult, stuff like that. So Summon Binding, I think, is pretty solid, but only on those specific gods. Next up, we got High Anemia Line. This is going to be your anti-attack speed. So it gives you 35 physical protections, 350 health, 4 health regen, and on passive, it reflects 40% of pre-mitigated attack damage and 20% of pre-mitigated ability damage. Again, you have 20% more reflection on the attack speed, or on the attack damage, which is specifically for that. So if you're, you can actually, they got nerfed, but you can actually do so much damage against an ADC late game. So if you see like an ADC with a lot of attack speed and you're just getting shredded by them, High Anemia Line is going to be really good for you. Brawler's Beat Stick, I already went over this in the hyper, my text, or pure burst damage, but Brawler's Beat Stick is really good. It gives you 20 physical protections, 40 strength, or 55 intelligence. If you haven't taken damage, you gain 75% of your strength or intelligence, and then if instead you're damaged, you gain an extra 25 physical protections. This would specifically be a physical protection item that you could go instead of like breastplate or something like that if you wanted to, especially if they have a lot of healing, because it is a soft healing counter. And then you have Rune Forge Hammer, which I think is a really underrated item. I'm going to be going a lot more of because it recently got buffed, but it gives you 45 strength. It's a hybrid item, 350 max health, synergized really good with yogis, 3 health regen on a hard crowd control. Mark them with the rune for 5 seconds. Attack to forge the rune, dealing 50 plus 65% of your item protections as magical damage. So good on gods like Achilles, Kabrakan, Sobek, Hercules. I mean, think of any of those guys that have the ability to get hard crowd control. Even like a Sun Wukong, actually, in his tiger form, can be so good with Rune Forge Hammer. I think this is going to be one of your top picks in terms of items once people start to figure this out. I haven't put it directly in the final build because it just did get buffed. It's really good, but I haven't really truly seen the impact of it yet at like a higher end, I suppose. But I think if you wanted to, this could be in your core build. You build this with yogis, somewhere in the build, Rune Forge. Like realistically, if I wanted like a hybrid build, I'd go yogis, Rune Forge, Shield Splitter, probably like a Freya's Tears or a Glorious Pridwin, and then you're just absolutely smacking because you have a lot of health, you have a decent amount of protections with all your items, and I think you'd be doing as much damage as like burst gods. So how cheap it is too. Anyways, next up we have is Gauntlet of Thebes. I think it's a solid item still. You still get health and stuff like that, which actually pairs really well with Yogi. So if you wanted to go Gauntlet of Thebes Yogis or Yogis Gauntlet of Thebes, and you go rest whatever you want, it's a very good item as well. Contagion as well synergizes really well with Yogis as well. 425 max health, 6 health regen, and then when you're damaged or attacked by an ability or an auto attack, you apply 1 stack of Contagion. If enemy life steals 100 health from you, you get 5 stacks. So it's a soft anti-heal counter, or soft healing counter, life steal counter. Attack or hard control can inflict an enemy deals magical damage equal to 1% of maximum health per stack. So you can get it was pretty busted before, but you can get a lot of damage off of this if you have a lot of sources of damage coming to you at once. You just auto them or use hard crowd control, which is really good. I'm getting down to it. We have Hussar's Wings. This is strictly for if you're going a lot of slows. This is a super expensive item, but like late game, if you wanted to get this, this would be good. 25 of each protection, 500 max health, and you're immune to slows, which is really good. Genji's Guard, I think, is underrated right now. Recently got buffed, giving it 5 extra cooldown and 10 extra protections, I believe. You can realistically get rid of this for Oni's Hunter Guard, and I think it's really good. I prefer Oni's just because of the damage mitigation. However, Genji's, if you wanted more cooldown in your build, you could go that. I mean, like, if you wanted to go Yogis into a Shield Splitter or Yogis into a Runeforge Hammer, Shield Splitter, and you wanted to get more cooldown and you needed more magical defense, you could go Genji's, and that would be very good too. So there are so many item combinations that you can go. That's why it's a little bit harder to do a generic build. That's really good right now. And then finally, Umbral Link. I think this is specifically good on gods like Hades or Anubis. You know, I think this is a solid item to go pairing with like Sanguine Lash, because it gives you an extra stack of Sanguine Lash, because it does gives you lifesteal and stuff like that. And it's very good in JOUST because you're around your team a lot. So you can build this item with a little bit of lifesteal with that, and I think that's also pretty good too. There are a lot of other tank items that we're going to go over, but that's more towards your support, so I'll kind of put those in there. But yeah, there's a lot of items here, so it's a little bit harder to go. But if you get any variation of these items where you go Yogis and you focus on cooldown, defense against those type of gods you're going up against, you already have mana regen with Yogis. And a lot of items with a lot of passives that are really good, like Glad Shield or Spirit Robe or Freya's Tear, stuff like that. You're going to do well. Realistically, if I were to make my own build, I'd probably go, it really depends on the god too, but if I'm playing like any one of those gods, I'd probably go somewhere along the lines of Yogi's Necklace, Shield Splitter, probably into a Genji's Guard or a Breastplate, depending on what I'm going up against. Then I'd probably go into a Runeforge Hammer. Then I'd go into like a Pridwin, and then I don't know, round it out with like thinking like a cooldown item. It's so hard to choose. There's so many good items. I'd probably just round it out with a Spirit Robe. Not a lot of cooldown on that build, but you do a lot of damage, so I think that's pretty good as well. And actually, now that I think about it, one other item I want to pay attention to is Pendulum Blade, just because of the cooldown and stuff like that. You can go that last item as well, and you'll be good. Titan's Bane, actually, too. I almost forgot about this. God damn it. Titan's Bane, I think, is the only other item I'm thinking of. Titan's Bane, if you're going up against tanks, I think this is also very good for the penetration. And then Pendulum Blade for ability cooldown. I'll probably notate that in the beginning part of Warrior of this section, but I meant to put Pendulum Blade and Titan's Bane. I think that's basically it. Obsidian Shard too. I mean, that's just the other version of it. I didn't mean to do that. Obsidian Shard right here. And I think that's basically it for the most part. Yeah. Other items are getting a little too in the weeds if I want to do like Chronos or Poly or whatever the fuck. But these generic type of items would be very good if you're going up against like double tank, Obsidian, and Titan's Bane, and then cooldown with Pendulum Blade. But yeah, that's sort of any type of variation with this, I think, is very good, as long as you have mana regen, cooldown, protection types, and passives that do really good in a certain order that you want. You'll be good to go. So. Next up we're going to be doing is supports. So I think that's basically it. Let's go ahead and get into that. All right, and then lastly we got our support build, and yeah, it's going to be pretty similar to the Bruiser kind of ability based builds that you see for them. This one's more obviously for supporting your team, making sure you set up, doing all that good stuff. So you're going to see more emphasis on actives and making sure that you have at least a few, if not a maximum, which is 3. So that's what you're going to see here. And a lot of them actually you can interchange too, depending on what you need. So starting out with the starters, we have Selflessness and War Flag. Now this one is going to depend on the team, on which one you're going to probably get more times the more times than not. So selflessness gives you 10 of each protection, 60 max health, and gives you 7 bonus gold, 8 heal, mana restore, all that stuff. But what's the important thing is that it gives you on a hard CC a shield of 25 plus 5% of your max health, and has a 30-second cooldown to your allied god. So if they have a lot of CC on the enemy team, it's going to be more important to get, especially in Joust, because Joust has a lot of CC. So making sure you get that when there's a lot of CC is going to be important. Now, War Flag, on the other hand, is going to be something that you're going to grab. It's kind of the inverse of well, not really inverse. It basically gives you the same thing, but this has more emphasis on attack speed and movement speed. So you do get each of there are 10 of each protection, 60 health, and you get gold, a heal, and mana restore on assist on a minion or jungle monster. But this time you actually instead of giving them a shield with selflessness when they, hard crowd control someone on your team, you actually get movement speed and attack speed per stack. So this would actually be good against, or if you have like an ADC on your team, or you have like a team that really capitalizes on attack speed. So it really depends on the team comp that you're going up with. Or you could go this if, the enemy team doesn't have a lot of CC, so selflessness wouldn't be as important. Either way, those two are going to be your main starters that you're going to go, and you're going to pick depending on what team comp they have, as well as yours. Now you can see there's a lot here. We're going to start out with the generic build. Again, it's a little bit harder to pick a generic build because it's so dependent on your team, the enemy team, and there's so many different options. So, bear with me on that, but this is a generic build that you can pretty much go each game and you should be pretty much good for most supports. Like I said, there's going to be an emphasis on actives, making sure you get actives, making sure you have MP5 or mana protections. It's going to be important. Cooldown is going to be important, and having solid passives on those items is going to be important too. A lot of items have passives though, so shouldn't be too worried. We're good passives at least. So starting out with a familiar item that we saw from last build path is Yogi's Necklace. Again, 400 health, 250 mana, 6 of each type of regen health and mana, and 0.5% max health per second. Actually, I'm going to move my camera over here for the time being, just so that you can see this. I know you guys have been seeing it pop up over here, but I'd rather just not do that on this last one. So anyways, Yogi's Mask, like I said, it's such an underrated item, and I think people should pick it up more, and that includes the tanks. Being able to have that mana regen and health per second, especially when you're going to build a healthy or a health type build, is just invaluable, and one of the only items that, again, didn't get nerfed in the anti-heal change patch. All right, next up is going to be our first active item, and very similar to ability-based warriors, I'm going to have these two items right here that encapsulate physical protection and magical protection. And it, again, it's a generic build, giving you both of each protection with solid items specifically for Joust is what this build is for. Depending on the team comp, it's going to switch things up here, and depending on what the enemy team looks like is going to depend on which one you want to go first, or with your team as well, vice versa. Some same type of thing. Anyways, we have Stampede. So it gives you 30 physical protections, 250 max health, synergizes again with Yogi's Necklace, 5 health regen, and on use, which is the active, you and your allies gain slow immunity and 60% movement speed that decays to 20 over 4 seconds. That is going to be very good for your team. It's only 2,400 gold. It allows you to either disengage fights or engage fights, depending on what you want to do there, and it's invaluable. It allows you to catch up to teammates, allows you to get away and save your team, stuff like that. So that's going to be super invaluable, and it's going to be your first active for your physical defense. Now, next up is going to be not an active, but more of an Oni's, more of a tanky kind of magical defense item that we have for ability-based bruisers as well. This one's going to be Oni Hunter's Garb. This one's for you. Again, 40 magical protections, 150 health, 200 max mana, 8 mana regen, and it giving you damage mitigation upwards of 3 stacks, depending on how close you are to teammates. And then Freya's Tears, again, generic build, 20 physical protections, 25 magical protections, 20 cooldown, and once you lose 25 of your health, 25% of your health, oops, that shouldn't have happened. Hold on, I'm gonna bring it back. Oh my god, I put it down below. This is scuffed. Anyways, you lose 25% of your health, you gain 15% physical and magical protections from items, and stacks up to 2 times, so upwards to 30%. And this one's just here to pad stats again, making sure you're tanky, you have some cooldown, stuff like that. Next up is our 5th active, which is Circe's Hexstone. Now, this doesn't really give a lot of stats, but its passive is what's really important. Or active, I must correct myself on, not active, or not passive, it's active. Anyways, it's 250 health, 4 health regen, 10 cooldown, and on active use, you become polymorph dash forward, dealing 50 physical damage. You're CC immune, and it gives you 60 physical and magical protection. This isn't gonna tell me the entire thing, is it? Okay, hold on, wait. No, it's not gonna tell me. I hate how this thing is. It's not letting you scroll down. Maybe it'll bring it up here. Sorry about this. Oh my goodness, here it is. It's not gonna let me, is it? All right, well actually I'll just have to bring it up. One sec. All right, I had to go to a community build just to scroll down. I don't know how I'm not able to scroll down on mine. Anyways, don't pay attention to the builds here. This is somebody else's builds. Just try to look at the right side. Again, it gives you 60 of each protection when you use it on the active, and then you hit an enemy, knock them up, bonus damage equal to 10% of your current health. And that's the biggest part. That's the most important part. The knock up and the bonus damage equal to 10% of current health. So we're gonna go back here. We're gonna go back to this God Builder. This. So yeah, that's what Circe's Hexstone does. It's very good being able to catch up to your teammates, or I'm sorry, to the enemy to knock them up, or you can use this to engage and use a CC ability if you're like Ymir or an Ares. Ares uses Circe's Hexstone really good. You use that, for example, and you ult and you can grab them for free. Not having to worry about building Blink or in addition to Blink, you could get Circe's Hexstone too. But also it's good to disengage for yourself as well. So I think this is a pretty good relic that you can go in any game, in any situation, and be very good. Last up we have is Spirit Robe, just to round things out. You got 25 of each protection. Once you're hit by crowd control, you get 40 of each protection. You get health healed over time, similar to Yogi's. It's going to be very good too for that. So as you can see, the maximum is 3 actives. Realistically, you should have at least 2, 3, or maybe... or you should realistically have at least 2, but you can get like 3, and that would be really good. However, some games might change. You may not have as many, or you may have more. It really just depends on what you need. So we'll go actually in the alternatives here. These are all alternatives. So next up we have, or as an alternative item, we have Screeching Gargoyle. This can be interchanged for like your Onis, for example. This gives you 50 per magical protections, 10 cooldown, and it silences for 1 second and reduces protections by 10%. Now, this isn't the best item. It's really cheap, and it gives you some good stats. The silence is good, but realistically, not as good as it used to be. So you can go this instead of Onis if you need it, but it's going to be more of a niche pick. Let's say if they have some gods that you need to, that you really are just, that's really annoying you, either CCing the enemy team, or like, you know, if they have a Herc, for example, and they get the pluck or whatever, and they're about to push your team, you could use your Screeching Gargoyle, silence them before it pushes you, and then your team can just walk away realistically in those type of situations. So it really just depends, and if you want to set up, you can do it as well, but I'd probably, it's here, but it's more niche, and you got to play it correctly, so it is a little bit more skill based and just learning how to play the item. Genji's Guard, very similar to the last. It's so good right now. They buffed it by an extra 5 cooldown and 10 protections, I believe, like I said before. But it gives you everything: magical protection, mana regen, cooldown, and then when you're hit by magical ability, it reduces your cooldowns by 3. Super good. Shoguns, this is only if you have like a ADC type team comp, this would be good, giving you and your allies some attack speed. Talisman of Purification. Now this one would go instead of like your Onis if you needed it. 25 magical protections, 275 max health, which really works really well with this build, and then 10 cooldown rate, which is also really good, and really just gives you CC immunity. You and your team have beads, so you know, in Joust you're probably going to buy this a lot. You won't need it every single game, but you might pick it up frequently. That's why I didn't put it there, because you don't always need team beads or talisman purification. That's what it's called, but you know, we call it team beads. Anyways, you know, if you have an enemy team comp that they have like a Fenrir, Ares, and like a Kate or something ridiculous, like a lot of CC, getting a talisman of purification just to help your team is going to be really, really good. And especially if you have a team that has, or a teammate that has not any type of CC immunity. So think of like an Agni, for example. If he beads, it's kind of just over for him. If, you know, an Ares gets his beads, well, now Fenrir can just ult him for free. And so having Talisman of Purification can definitely win you games and fights and stuff like that. Next up, we have Amanita's Charm. 15 of each protection, nothing crazy, 300 health and 4 health regen. But it's passive, giving you 3% health heal every 1.5 seconds, lasting for 4.5 seconds. So this is going to give you about 10% health back, 9%, but almost 10% basically. 1% or plus 1 stack of damage reduction per heal, and 10 basic and ability damage reduction. What's my cat doing? Per stack. 5% ultimate damage reduction per stack. So there's a bunch of things here. They added the damage reduction, and this item is actually pretty solid, and you can go this in any type of game because it gives you each protection. I mean, if you wanted to, you could get rid of Onis, that this might be helpful for you. Again, there's no anti-heal in the game, so the healing you're going to get from this is going to be what you're going to get. So it's actually not a terrible item. We got Glorious Pridwin. 20 of each protection, 12 cooldown, and you explode, slow them, and then you deal an additional explosion damage. Again, this is very similar to the last one. I think this one's more towards being able to slow the enemy team and giving yourself a shield if you need it. Very similar to the last one, but overall, same thing. Pad stats, gives you cooldown and gives you a pretty good active. Draconic Scale, giving you 20 of each protection, 300 health, which is really good. And when you're damaged by a god, gain 2 protections, plus 3% bonus protections from items against that god's damage type. Stacks last 1.5 seconds, of the maximum of 7, and decay 1 at a time. So this one's going to be really good too if you're just constantly taking damage, and you know, more. This is more of a selfish-ish item. This is a selfish item. I don't know why I said that. It is just a selfish item if you're playing support. However, sometimes you may need that, and being able to, you know, get a lot of protections when you need it might be really good too. So Draconic Scale is a alternative item. Shield Splitter is going to be more toward another selfish item that you could go, very similar to ability Bruisers. God, I can't think right now. 40 strength, 20 vision protection, you get a projectile true damage and reduce their shield, and depending on if they have their shield up, you can gain the shield equal to their shield reduced. So this one would specifically be built if you want to be selfish and deal damage at the beginning, which is still good. This item's so underrated, that's why I put it here. But if they do have any type of shield, this is definitely an item that you would want to pick up. Next up, we have Sanguine Lash and Mystical Mail, very similar to the other type of build. Just being able to stand around people and kill them is really good right now. So Sanguine Lash and Mystical Mail, like I said before, I don't think I need to go over this, but going these two items like right around the early to mid part of the build would be really good, and is super good on guys like Sobek and other guys that just kind of stand near the enemy. Voidstone and Void Shield. So basically the exact same items, just for strength and intelligence. Voidstone gives 40 intelligence, 35 magical protection, 150 max health, and a passive that reduces magical protection of 10%. And you know, when you get closer, you reduce it more, and if you're further away, you reduce it less in the vicinity to the enemy. And same thing with Void Shield, 20 strength, 40 physical protections, 100 max health. But instead it reduces physical protection. So these items are going to be good if you know, if you have like your teammate, right? If you have a lot of magical damage or you have a lot of physical damage, going these items can you're basically getting 10% pen for you and your team. You know, minus 50% or plus 50%, depending on how close you are. And a lot of the times you can get really close to them. So more times than not, you might be getting more, but either way, you're still getting percent pen by just standing near them and allowing you and your team to do more damage. And it's a hybrid type thing, so if you wanted to be a little bit more hybrid and do a little bit more damage, you could do that too. Stone of Binding, 25 and 20 of magical protections. Like I said, these are going to be gods that you're going to want a lot of CC on. So Sobek, Kabrakan, all these guys that have hard crowd control. So this is going to be more niche depending on what support you're going to have. Hussar's Wings are just, again, immune to slow. If they have slows, then making sure to get that can be helpful. Leviathan's Hide, I think, is definitely good. It just really depends on what kind of god you are, because you're going to need to be doing a lot of, or stacking this, so you're going to be attacking them a lot. Again, this gives 40 physical, 250 max health, and when you damage a god, you get 8 maximum health permanently for the entire game. So you're going to need to make sure that you prioritize attacking the enemy team with Leviathan's Hide. So certain guys that don't do that well, you probably shouldn't go this. But again, the Leviathan's Hide, Yogi's Necklace, first two items are so good, especially late game. Breastplate of Valor is just here, again, for its stat padding, giving you 35 physical protections, max mana, mana regen, 20 cooldown, and it's passive that gives you even more cooldown. So if you wanted to go that in this spot, you can too. Again, it's a little bit more selfish, but sometimes you don't need as many actives in certain games. Hide Enemy Line, again, is just an item that you would go if you're going up against a lot of ADC damage. Again, it reflects toward 40% of a basic attack damage and 20 of ability. Regrowth Striders are going to be good on gods like Sobek. Like I said before, being able to heal, have a consistent heal in your kit can allow you to be, or to buy this item and be more, I wouldn't say, this is more of a selfish item again, but if you want to be more selfish and it synergizes with your kit, being able to do damage as a support can be good too. Brawlers, again, anti-heal item. The only one, as well as Contagion here, it's soft anti-heal, not really any type of anti-heal, just specifically you gain effects based on if someone's healing. 40 strength, again, if the damage, if the god, if you haven't taken any damage, you do 75% of strength or intelligence, and then if damage, you gain 25 physical protections, and if they get healed, if there's that healing, you get bonus effects of both. Mantle of Discord, you're not going to buy this a lot, I don't think. I think Spirit Robe is going to be better for you. However, if they do have a lot of CC and you're just getting destroyed, having a Mantle of Discord proc around you, giving you the stun below 40% health is going to be good. You're going to interchange that for like the Spirit Robe. Umbral Link 2, if you go like a, this is really only good if you go like a Sanguine Lash with it as well, just to help you and your team when you lifesteal, but really niche item. I almost didn't want to put it here, but it has seen some play ever since its buff. Contagion, this would be a good item to go if they do have healing. Again, you get a stack. Also has max health, which means it synergizes well with your kit there. Again, this item, basically when you're damaged by an ability or a basic attack, you get a stack of Contagion, and then once you hit them with a hard crowd control, which a lot of times you will as a support, or basic attack them, you deal bonus magical damage, 1% maximum health per stack, which, you know, funny enough, you're building a health build, so you're gonna be doing a lot of damage with your auto. So if you see yourself getting just hit all over the place, and you're like, I could probably get some stacks and turn around and auto them and just do a bunch of damage, this could be the make or break. I bought this on many times and have been able to clean up kills I wouldn't normally have with my build here. Next up, we got Gauntlet of Thebes. Ever since they changed the way it works, it's not been as good, and I've been, you know, not building this as much. However, it's still very good. Imagine going Gauntlet of Thebes with a Yogi's Necklace as well as everything else. You'll just be healing and healing and healing. So it's not a bad item. It just doesn't give the aura, and it doesn't give protections, which, you know, gives you health, which is like pseudo protections, but it's not as valuable in my opinion. Still very good though. Next up, we have Spectral Armor. This is for anti-crit. It's a lot better now. 30 protections, 400 health. If you see anyone building crit, this is like a must buy because it instantly shuts it down. It's a very good item. And then the last few items we have here, there are a ton of other items you can argue going. I can't see the items, but or it's not letting me see the items. There are a ton of other items you can make an argument for. However, these are going to be the main ones that I'm looking at. We can get rid of this one. Wait, just edit. Okay, here we go. Yeah, so like I said, there's a ton of other items you can argue for. I mean, you could argue for like a Titan's Bane Obsidian Shard, very similar to like your hybrid Bruisers. I mean, you can argue like a Mirrodin if you really wanted to, but that'll just take up too much time. And that's sort of the section that I did with the ability Bruisers, is sort of that part here, with all the other items there. Supports, you're not going to really be going a lot of damage. If you are, then I don't really think you're support. That or you're just a very selfish support, and at that point you're kind of just like a hybrid ability Bruiser at that point. But anyways, these are going to be your four main ones that three main ones that I think you're going to be pretty good for you, at least damage wise or utility. A lot of the things that come with support I think is more of utility rather than damage. Not there is a lot of damage in, they got rid of a lot of that in Smite 1 where tanks get to like build Soul Reaver or E-Staff and still do a lot of damage. Anyways, we have Chronos Pendant, giving you 55 intelligence, 25 cooldown, and obviously the passive every 10 seconds -1 ability cooldown. If you want to go this item like late game instead, and you're tanky enough, your team's good, you just need more cooldown, I can definitely see you going Chronos. Similarly with Pendulum Blade for your strength type of, it's kind of the inverse, giving you 45 strength, 10 cooldown, and the on active. Again, it's an active, so you're going to take up an active slot. It reduces it by 4 seconds. And then finally, a weird one is Ancient Signet. This seems to be the only item that I think would be really good on tanks that I've noticed. So you get 80 intelligence, 250 max mana, which is fine. You get whatever. You're not going to be building a lot of intelligence or whatever, or strength or whatever. But this is strictly for like people who have, or gods that have a lot of intelligence scaling. But if you build this last item, especially with its buffs on ability hit, you dealing 20 plus 12 per level bonus magical damage. Now, of course, it's going to be mitigated by whoever you're damaging. This can be very, very good. Having your cooldown, or buffing the cooldown rate up to 15 seconds instead of 20, and then the 2 seconds for each minion killer assist, you can do a lot of damage with Ancient Signet. And I've been testing it out more and more, and I think it's a pretty solid item. Not the best thing, and doesn't really replace a lot of the things in Smite 1 that they had. Items like Kins and Soul Reaver don't really work anymore the way they did in Smite 1, where you could build on tanks and be good with it. Ancient Signet, however, is sort of that substitute that I can say would be good if you just want to do more damage, as the ability doesn't scale off of any of your intelligence or strength or even protections. It just scales off of your level, and if you build it last, then you could be getting a lot of damage. So but that's basically it. I think I got every single alternative type of item. There's a couple in here you might be like, why aren't on there? Like, I don't know, Magi's Cloak, but you kind of only build that if, I don't really see you building that unless they have like super CC, but at that point just go beads, purification. So I think that's pretty much it, at least for the support part. So I think that's everything, actually. You got your supports. We'll start from the beginning. You got your mages, you got your ADCs, you got your burst, strength, I'm sorry, mages, intelligence burst, so that's that one. Your ADC's attack, auto attack. You got your strength burst, then you got your AA warrior / AA Bruiser, then you got your ability Bruiser / whatever you want to call that, hybrid, and then you got your supports, and that's pretty much every kind of class. Now, of course, there are a couple other things like your full intelligence ADC build. It pretty much goes by itself. There's only like a few items there anyways, and realistically you're probably not going to go that more often than not. But if you do want me to look or make a build, I can put that in the comment section down below. Another one would maybe be a lifesteal build, but there's only a few gods that do that as well. So I can put that in the comment section down below if anybody is requesting that as well. But everything else kind of encapsulates most of what you're going to be playing the majority of the time. And then, you know, once you figure out builds and items and stuff, you can kind of mix and match and go more alternative items that I didn't bring up, even though I kind of brought up all the items. But anyways, let me know in the comment section down below if this helped you. I hope it did. If not, let me know if there's anything you'd like me to go over or improve or whatever. These are, I'm giving you generic builds along with some alternative items and trying to tell you which ones you would go in place of, depending on, you know, what you would use it and team comps and all that stuff. Trying to explain to you when you would use it, when you wouldn't use it, whatever. So I hope it was helpful. Let me know in the comment section down below what you guys thought of it. Discord in the description down below if you want to join that. Memberships are open for 99 cents a month and $2.99 a month if you so desire, but not very or so desire and very much appreciated. But if not, understandable. That's what I meant to say. Yeah, anyways, Twitch in the description down below as well. I go live now Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday pretty consistently, so if you want to come over there, say what's up, that'd be pretty cool. So Twitch in the description down below. But I think that's everything that I have for you. So yeah, with that being said, thank you guys for watching.